Hello and welcome back to Foos Entertainment for our next review. It's part of my 62 days of scary movies on the event known as Horror Fest 2024. Well, every now and then, not all the time, but every now and then, I would say about every decade. About every decade, there's always one of these. Whether it be The Fanatic with John Travolta, or even this very early 80s particular film, which is known as, see if I remember the name of it. It will probably come back to me. But we're going to talk about a 1988 film. And before we talk about this film, I will explain what I'm talking about with what I just said. Every now and then, there is a film, whether it be action, adventure, suspense, mystery, comedy, sci-fi, fantasy, or horror, thriller, or sci-fi horror fantasy. There's always going to be, every now and then, a film that is so bad that it's very, very good. So bad that it's very, very good. And you just can't help but not just watch it once, but watch it several times. And that's what my introduction is to this particular film I'm going to be reviewing first. And that is 1988's 976 Evil. And that's basically how I sum this one up, on my opinion. This film is so quirky and campy and so ridiculously bonkers that it's good. Granted, half of the audience will hate this movie. Half of the audience will enjoy this movie. And they'll look at it as one of the films that's so bad is good. Now, I'm still trying to remember the name of that other one I was trying to talk about. But another good example of this would be the student-made horror film, Basket Case. It's another film that's so bad that it's good. And well, this is basically one of those films. All right, well, let's read the plot synopsis. Director Robert Englund, mostly known for playing Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street film series, dials up a gothic tale of high-tech horror in 976 Evil. High school underdog, Hoax Wilmoth, I think that's how you say it, Wilmoth, played by Simon Jeffries, who obviously we know is Evil Ed in 1985's Fright Night, fills up the idle hours in his speedy little hometown, fending off the local leather-jacketed thugs, avoiding his overbearing mother in a dramatic dreaming of a date with a trailer park dame, I guess we'll put that. I don't know what that word that they're putting here is, so I'll just call it dame. But his quietly desperate little life takes a terrifying turn when his cousin introduces him to an unusual new hobby, phoning in for his horoscope. Hoax is hooked up with a hideous demonic force that slowly begins to overtake his entire life, and now there's more than just a phone bill to pay for anyone who ever dared cross The Neighborhood Nerd. Well, that's not bad. I actually did take liberties of changing a few of the phrases on the back of the plot synopsis. But basically, this is how ridiculously bonkers and campy this film actually is. You have a nerd that doesn't quite get to the nerdness that you have with... give me one second here. The nerdness you have with, say, Toxic Avenger. Not so over the top nerdy with that, but very, very, very close to it. He basically comes across this ad in a magazine that his cousin was using, but then passed on. And he came across it, and he embraced what it is. And basically, to sum it all up, when you dial this 976 evil number, you're actually having like a telephone call to the devil. And he grants your every, wish, kind of like, say, the Jinn in the Wishmaster films. He basically preys upon your desperosity. So anything you're desperate about, like money, debts, acceptance, power, whatever it is, it will prey upon it, because you're basically dialing the devil, and he wants to collect your soul or something along those lines. Well, that's what happens to this nerd, and eventually he gets so attuned with this phoning in for his horoscope that he gets consumed by it and literally becomes a demon, and takes his revenge on basically his oppressors. Still not low enough. On his oppressors, people that, picked on him and bullied him, beat him up, all those things. Which leads into a family battle between good and evil. Is his cousin has to try to get him to come back to reality, which doesn't work. Now, I was going to review Evil, the second Evil film, which is 976 Evil 2, The Astro Factor, but they only had it on streaming, and it was very, very, very poor quality. So I will wait patiently for a physical media, Blu-ray at least, if not better. But that basically sums up the plot, so let's talk about the quality before I go into a final opinion about the film, which will relate to the audience on whether or not you will enjoy this film or you will not enjoy the film. I already gave you my own opinion already at the beginning of the review. So let's talk about the quality. Well, first off, let's talk about the fact that there's two actual versions of the film on this disc. You have the theatrical cut, and if you look closely right here, you have the home video cut. I did not watch the home video cut. Maybe one day I will. I watched the theatrical cut of the film for this particular review. This film is in 1.85 by 1 widescreen, which is very typical for the times of the 1980s. Just about every single horror film in the 1980s was actually filmed in 1.85 by 1 widescreen format. It was not in CinemaScope 2.35.1 widescreen. 2.39 and 2.40 by 1 CinemaScope widescreen did not exist until many, many, many years later. It has a 5.1 DTS HDMA sound presentation. Well, the picture for a 1988 movie that is a hidden gem to some, a very, very, very poorly crafted, what the British would call a queerish horror film. Queerish not as in homosexualism, that's not technically what that word means. It actually means anything weird and bizarre and macabre Anything out of the ordinary that is so out of the ordinary that is almost like a political production in your face. I think that's the way to sum it up. So either you're on one side where, oh, it's so bad it's good and fun, and I like it. It's a good party movie, or it's a good unwinding film after a bad day at work, or whatever, a fun film to pass time, or is an abomination to film. It really depends on your subjective opinion. To me, it goes into the department. It's a fun movie, a fun unwinding film. This is definitely not the first time I've seen this film. I've seen this film probably about 5 or 6 times within the past few years. And interesting enough, I grew up with Fright Night and so many 80s horror films, but I actually was quite a bit older when I came across 976 Evil. The picture quality, like I said, is very, very good for a 1988 film being restored. The audio quality, believe it or not, I was very, very impressed with the audio quality of the film. The audio is pretty immersive. That DTS HDMA sound presentation definitely makes perfect use of all your speakers, especially for something that was recorded in ultra stereo, which was a precursor to Dolby Surround Pro Logic in the 1980s. It was used on a lot of the not so expensively made movies in the 80s. Of course, all the other expensive ones up to Dolby Surround came about, which I believe was like in 1990, I would have to say. Yeah. 1989 to 1990. I believe it was originally known as Dolby Stereo Special Recording SR. And that's what they called it. Until, of course, Jurassic Park knocked everybody out of the park with DTS stereo sound in theaters. And obviously, Batman Returns in 1992 with Dolby Digital. Well, they never see it on the end credits of that film, but that's the film that introduced it. But yeah, the sound is very good. It had a lot of effects flying around the room, which is different for an ultra stereo sourced movie. So they did a very, very good job at Sony Home Entertainment for this this release. I also might add, this was very hard to get. This was very hard to get. In fact, I came across it at Best Buy, and I was not expecting it. I went to Best Buy and looking around and on a rainy day, and it was actually in the fall, and it actually was a rainy day outside, and or a cold day. I just remember being a cold day. It may not have been rainy. It may have been just very windy. And I came across this on the shelf. It's like, wow, you don't see that every day. So I picked it up. You could find on really a whole lot of stuff at Best Buy that you were not expecting to find. Like, for example, my Nightmare on Elm Street box set that I actually bought several years ago and reviewed on this channel got released at Best Buy, pre-release to the market. So it was an early Best Buy exclusive. And I'm guessing that this probably was as well, because there are times when you come across them. Like my my first copy of, say, Fright Night in Blu-ray was a Best Buy exclusive. You could not get it anywhere. It was a Best Buy exclusive. You either could find it in the store. Actually, no, to be told, I don't think you actually could buy the first Fright Night Blu-ray release in America at Best Buy. But it was exclusive to Best Buy. It was an exclusive Best Buy thing. You actually had to order online from Best Buy itself, not Sony or Amazon or anybody else. Best Buy. This thing goes to 976 Evil. that film was definitely a Best Buy exclusive. Now the opinion that you guys probably want to hear. You is a horror fan and audience of watching old movies. Is this worth picking up if you can get a copy? Or if you come across it on streaming services, is it worth a watch? Well, for people who are my age, who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I would definitely say, yeah, it is a very nostalgic 80s horror film that you should definitely watch. Is it a film made for modern audiences? No, I would have to say that. You really do have to be a fan of 1980s and 1990s horror. More specific, 1980s, very early or later 80s or early 90s. Yeah, you'll like this movie. But if you are a part of, you were born in the late 1990s and grew up in the millennium, chances are you probably will not like this movie. So there's a very nostalgic audience for this one. And I finally forgot to mention, I did finally remember the name of that other horror film from the 80s that is so bad it's good. And that's Fade to Black, which is another one I actually would like to acquire and review on this channel. Maybe one day I will. Very interesting film. And that's what I gotta say about 1988's 976 Evil. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. I probably give this one 3 stars. Not 2.5, 3 stars. Because like I said, it's so campy and bad, it's good. Something I can't quite say about yesterday's reviews, or should I say 2 days ago's reviews. I can say about those. Those were bad movies that became good movies throughout the course of the showing of the film. But 976 Evil is a good movie because it's so bad it's good. So, Fu says check it out, and I'll see you on the next one.